Hey, Satanico here once again for God Loves Comics, and I may have just deleted the video I made just prior to this one, just moments ago, so I may want to kill myself, but I just did an unboxing video, and I recorded about the first 6 minutes and made a couple of mistakes, hated it, and so I started recording a new video, went through it. It was about 30 minutes. And then when I went to delete the 6-minute video, it seems to maybe have also highlighted the 30-minute video and deleted them both. And they're gone as far as I can see, which is really frustrating for me. But in which case, I may just bring those comics back over, open these two boxes, and then also show the comics I just opened. So that's, and this may be an epically long video, but maybe not, because I'm just going to go through these as quickly as possible. So anyway, I picked these up from my comic shop. You can see some damage there, hopefully. And I bought these actually, as I was explaining in the prior video, which may never be seen, that I bought these well before the end of last year, so they are now probably 4 or 5 months old, unbelievably, and have not opened them. Was pretty excited when I bought them, so but I just got so busy, and then when I stopped being busy, I just was really lazy, and I also intended to, you know, edit videos a lot better, and haven't gotten around to doing that, so I'm still just winging it and just doing everything, you know, live with no editing. So anyway, I've had these sitting around. I wanted to make a video for them, so that's why I didn't open them, and I'm going to open them right now and see what we have. Like I said, since it's been months, I have a vague idea of some of the things I ordered, but not a real solid idea of everything. We hear a little bit of cutting, where hopefully I neither damage the comics nor disembowel myself in the process. And this is why we need editing. Not because, you know, the unboxing whole thing, the whole part of that is actually opening the box and sharing it with people, but having some visuals here that are not just static is probably a big issue when it comes to the YouTube thing. Anyway, here we go. Popped right out, and this is a very small order. It's only maybe 3 issues. Let's see if I can get this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't need to get the cardboard off. But there are 3 really, or at least one of them, it's a pretty big deal for me. We're not talking Amazing Fantasy 15 or anything crazy like the big time collectors, the money boys. There are lots of those guys out there. I'm not one of them, and probably never will be. But so buying anything that costs more than $40-50 is a big purchase for me. All right, let's look at I can already see kind of the big comic on top, but let's look at the secondary things I kind of just bought just to fill out the order, or won in an auction. First, there are only a couple of comics in here, and I don't remember what I got. Oh, okay. Oh, actually, there's only one other comic, but don't worry, there's another box here. And this other comic, though, is really interesting, and I'm really excited to have it. Finally, something up here is Hit Comics, July #1, 10 cents. Actually, not 10 cents. This is a reprint, of course, but a really classic cover. I posted this on the God Loves Comics Facebook group, and the original one, and then I happened to see this on auction when I was ordering, and went ahead and won the auction for this. And let's see how much I paid for this. Not much, I'm sure. A little bit more than expected, though. $16.80. But I'm really excited to see what's inside, even though you can probably see everything on Comic Book Plus. Great site. But beautiful cover. I think that's Lou Fine. The colors just pop. They don't color comics like this anymore. Everything's sort of Photoshoppy and all these horrible Photoshop effects. You know, this is just beautiful. The red, the blue, the yellow, this great logo that Hit Comics always had. They were filled, I mean, every cover was, you know, just popped off must have just popped off the stands because they were done by Lou Fine or they were done by Reed Crandall, and they were just incredible. And this is just a great example of this. And also, so many odd sort of characters from that time period. Hercules, the Strongest Man, Blaze Barton. This is the Red Bee, who, for whatever reason, wears kind of transparent fishnet around his sleeves. This is, I don't know. This isn't him. There's a character called Neon the Unknown. There's the Strange Twins. All really cool stuff. So maybe we'll take a look in this at the end of this video. And then here is the big gun. And this I'm very happy with looking at it, at least in this Mylar. This is in a very nice Mylar Snuggie. Conan the Barbarian #1. Voila. That's a big purchase for me. And still, this cost me in an auction $118. So that's not that's about the running price. I mean, maybe you can get, you know, this is a 6.0. And so, you know, maybe it can sell for 140, 150 sometimes. But, you know, a 9.8 will sell for 4,000. But it's not a comic that's accruing any more value. Maybe it would catch fire if there's a Conan film that comes out. And I'm sure there will be eventually. Now, in listening to the great ETA Nick, somebody whose YouTube channel I really love. There's always an issue with this centering in this book, and this is actually beautifully centered. Centering is not something, I think it's something that we all kind of subconsciously know when we see, you know, like the edges of the prices cut off on the side, the wrapping and whatever, or we see a lot of white on the spine where it's obviously miswrapped. We kind of subconsciously or consciously recognize that, but you know, paying attention to, oh well, is all the lettering and the pricing here visible, and is the comics code visible? Those are things that sometimes you are not really consciously paying that much attention to. For this comic, the problem is always at the bottom here, apparently, which is just this little bit of the coming of Conan. Just the sort of little scroll that it's written on gets cut off, and that's just it right there. This is actually really nicely done, though. I mean, it's just that tiny little bit. And at least in the Mylar, this is a beautiful copy. Nice and flat. Corners are nice. I mean, I don't see the back cover, obviously, and you couldn't see it. Okay, this was sold separately. This was sold by itself. I bought a Conan Lot as well. But when it's sold by itself, you can see the back cover and you can see the front cover, obviously, just in single photos that you can enlarge and you can really look over very clearly. And, you know, just looking at it in the Mylar, it looks far better than a 6.0, but, of course, that is very deceptive. You can't always see some of the color breaks. You can see Barry Smith's, when he was just Barry Smith, not Barry Windsor-Smith, you can see his signature right there on the handle of this weapon that one of Conan's enemies is wielding. Beautiful cover, beautiful comic, one that I've never owned before. And I just kind of got a hankering for it when I saw it in the auction, and thought I had it for about $80, and then a lot of bids came in late, and for $118. Sometimes things tend to sell too high on my comic shop in the auctions. People get a little bit of auction fever that they don't seem to have the same compunction for on eBay, where you can usually get things lower than they're worth. But anyway, that is two beautiful covers, actually. Those are two beautiful covers. Conan, Barry Smith, Lou Fine's Hit Comics, the reprint. Very different ages, obviously. Golden Age, Bronze Age. But beautiful, beautiful work. I'm very happy with those two comics. This Conan looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. I mean, it's hard to tell on this right side right here if that's just color, if that looks like just coloration instead of a little, blunting or bending. And so just in the bag, it's hard to see any flaws. It looks almost like a 9.0, but it's a 6.0, so there's definitely something there, or at least that's what they rated it as. So this box feels pretty light. So there's probably only a couple of comics in here as well. And then we'll go back to the other comics that I opened earlier and have lost the video for. Intended to bolster my content by making two videos, and not one really long rambling one like I'm guilty of almost always, but looks like I am right back to rambling. Okay, I think we can get this open. Alright, and here we are again. Try not to look at the invoice, just so the comics themselves are still a surprise to me, because I actually have no idea what's in this package. I kind of suspected that one was Conan #1. I completely forgot about the Hit Comics, even though I was very happy to get that. Let's see if I can cut this without cutting myself or cutting the comic. As always, those are kind of crucial. You can just gaze and wonder at that beautiful comic. Alright, there's only, I think there's only two comics here, so pretty light load. Let's pull out the invoice. And let's see what we have. Okay, OL, there we go. There is one EC comic in the other lot that I purchased, and there was one that I purchased here. I mean, I purchased these separately. Now, this is not in good shape. That's an understatement. It's in fact, I don't remember them saying this had water damage, but I'm sure they must have. Definitely has some water damage. I bought, if you look at one of my other videos recently, my last video in fact, it was 10 EC comics that have water damage. For some reason, this one really captivated me. I mean, I always like the Weird Science, the Weird Fantasy line anyway. This is a Wally Wood cover. You can see Woody's famous signature there in the little scrolling section. A little scroll at the bottom there, and just love the cover. Unfortunately, looks like it's got some definitely water damage, almost some like mildew or mold there, and obviously a lot of scuffing. I knew it was in bad shape. It's probably a 1.8. See what they had this listed as. Weird Science. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. And I paid $27 for that. It's actually listed as poor, a 0.5. Now, I'm not sure how that rating goes. There were bids on this. There were some late bids that came in on this. I probably initially tried to get it for maybe about, I think, $11. Went all the way up to 27. and it doesn't look that great. It's a beautiful cover still. It's got a pretty significant crease right down here. It's not even a subscription crease, which would be right down the center. It's just right down this central figure here. And then, of course, like I said, all of this sort of scuffing and water damage and everything else. Central image, though, still really nice. Then across here, more damage. But listed as a poor, and when you're talking a 0.5, when you're talking Golden Age comics, from what I've seen from Nick's channel and from Heritage Auctions and everything else, they can be a lot more beat up than this and be a 0.5. You've got to usually you have to have some really significant. Now this has there's a little split there where the staple is. The staples are here where my thumb is, like well away from the spine. Yeah, and they're rusted too. So the spine itself doesn't look, well, maybe it's split. It's hard to see. Actually, I don't think it's split, except yeah, it looks fine. But anyway, not super thrilled. I thought that it was maybe a 1.0 or 2.0, but this is 0.5, so it's not in great shape. And certainly, even though on camera, it still looks pretty good, even beside this beautiful cover and this beautiful copy of Conan. But I'm still happy to have it. And the other comic, kind of an impulse buy. I love the cover. It's an oldie but goodie, Joe Kubert. And it is the first DC issue of Tarzan of the Apes, which, interestingly, was starting at 207. I forget, was it Gold Key or that was running it before this? I don't know. But they have painted covers. You can see such a difference. There have been so many great artists on Tarzan in the first place. I mean, Tarzan, for whatever reason, perhaps because Edgar Rice Burroughs was such a popular artist and had so much appeal, probably appealed to the artist, appealed to their sense of adventure and wanting to draw this kind of material, and also the fact they had a big audience. So it was actually a prestige project for artists to be able to illustrate. But Tarzan, over its course, has had so many great artists, from Jesse Marsh to Bern Hogarth to, of course, Joe Kubert. And I'm forgetting, 5 others. But so I picked this up. It's interesting to compare Kubert's covers to John Buscema's covers when he was doing them for Marvel. I love John Buscema. He's just an amazing artist. But in terms of Tarzan, I actually prefer Kubert. There's just a kind of a visceral. First of all, there's a great looseness to Kubert's art. It's very loose. It's very sort of lithe and kinetic and energetic without being overdone. And you can say that, of course, as well about John Buscema. He drew stuff very quickly, but his stuff still feels tighter. In a good way, but nobody really draws like Joe Kubert. Nobody is, even his own sons, Andy and the other guy. They don't draw, Adam, sorry. They don't draw anything like their pop either, which, it's important to develop your own style. And maybe Joe Kubert's style would not be popular today. But, yeah, I really like the work there, so. Beautiful cover, and I picked that up. It's not in great shape. It looks nice, actually, but it was $3.10. So, certainly worth it. I kind of bought it on a whim. I think I was looking at some Joe Kubert Tarzan covers, and so I just wanted to pick up one, and so that's why I purchased. And that wasn't even an auction. This is a very good plus. Now, I'm going to grab these other comics that I unboxed just a little bit ago. Let's see what we have. And I'll go through these relatively fast, particularly because nobody really watches the unboxing videos. They seem to only like when I read V for Vendetta. but let's get through these. Leave this one up. Conan. Aside. So this is a Conan Lot, and this is Conan number 17, and this is I forget if I know Barry Windsor-Smith. I believe his last issue was number 24, the famous Red Nails, Red Sonja issue, where he really just kind of just blew the doors off with his art at the time. But so this is not when his run was not over at this point, but there were some other artists filling some gaps for him. I think the grind of the monthly, title was not favorable to his working conditions, but I'm not sure if he did the interior art to this, and I don't have access to my keyboard because it's behind these things. So, but I can say that this is a Gil Kane and Frank Brunner cover. You can see the GK there, and Frank Brunner. Frank Brunner, best known probably for Doctor Strange, but he's done plenty of other stuff as well, of course. This is in really nice shape, and Gil Kane, of course, I'm a big favorite, a fan of his, the typically sort of, poses and the sinewy heroes and figures, even the background figures, beautifully drawn. So, and then this, number 18, okay, I was trying to go in reverse order. This is number 18, and that looks like John Buscema to me. I don't see a signature on it. It should be obvious. The faces definitely look like Buscema. Could be, yeah, I think so, but if it's Gil Kane, I feel pretty ashamed of myself. That could be a Gil Kane monster, actually, but that really looks like John Buscema to me. But either way, nice and true. Now we're into the really beautiful Barry Windsor-Smith covers that I bought. These were all part of the same lot, 10 issues, and these 10 comics, these 10 Conan issues, cost me $131.77. So essentially they were $13 a piece, which is, I don't know, I think that's a reasonable deal. They're not high grade, certainly. They're in mid grade, low grade. I think they're very good to find. I was trying to guesstimate sort of as I was going along, and when I was looking at the My Comic Shop site, they have the comics, when they do a lot, they post all 10 comics, like 5 across the top, 5 across the bottom, and they're like this, or more like this, I should say, where you can always see the left-hand side, but you can't see the right-hand side. So the spine can look great, and then all the damage, there can be creases here, and there can be damage along here. So it's kind of guesswork as to what their conditions are, and they don't really list conditions for lots. Maybe, if there's a higher grade or an expensive book, they're going to sell it by itself, like this Conan 1. That was not part of the lot, of course. So it's kind of guesswork. So just looking at the composite picture where you can only see half the comics, I was kind of guessing at what their grades may be. And I think I was pretty close in retrospect. I mean, I was guessing most to be in the very good to fine range, but a few were very fine to, fine to very fine, I should say. This is Conan number 15, and that is kind of, you can see Barry Smith's signature once again. This is like his later signature, before he became Barry Windsor-Smith, of course, but he was starting to put in this box, as you can see in the other one as well. And that's Elric by Michael Moorcock. This is a pretty popular issue because of the Elric adaptation, and I think it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other later issues in the teens. And again, beautiful cover, and actually looks in beautiful shape. There's quite a few spine ticks. When you're talking about a black cover, spine ticks are always going to show up, especially color breaks are going to show up. So, but other than that, pretty flat, pretty nice. And this is number 13, and this is probably the worst condition of any of these books that I noticed. And most of the damage is over here. Most of this damage all along here, some tears, almost maybe some bug chew. creasing, tearing, you know, just all along the right-hand side. So this is far and away the worst condition. I think I had this guessed as, and there's a little tear there, as a very good, or, you know, and it's probably not better in a very good. The actual image looks great. The spine looks great all along here. And this is the part that you cannot see, of course, in the auction. As I said, you know, the right-hand side is partially obscured by the next comic that's overlapping it. You can see Barry Smith's signature right there. It's a little bit, quite a bit different than it was in the previous issues, and even in the later issues where he was making it more prominent. Beautiful cover, beautiful cover. Number 9, all this vegetation, all the, you know, detail in the vegetation, all this texture, you know, in the vegetation here, and then the central characters, you know, are beautifully drawn. I've said this before, but there are people that are even huge Barry Windsor-Smith fans, and they seem to think that his early issues, or really all of his issues, I've had several say that really the final issue, Red Nails, number 24, was sort of him coming into his own and really reaching the pinnacle of his, you know, powers, which I don't disagree with. But there's always the suggestion that there was a lot of awkward stuff in these, and they weren't as well drawn. Well, they're beautifully drawn. There are the occasional awkward panels or the occasional awkward figures or faces. And believe me, I haven't seen most of these interiors, but I've seen enough to have seen those things. And I've seen the original art, several original art pages when they occasionally pop up on Heritage, and look at those very closely, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful, but you'll see the occasional awkward face or awkward figure. Primarily, I test that to deadlines. I test that to a young artist struggling to make the brutal deadlines, you know, the monthly deadlines that Marvel imposes, and especially for someone who's kind of perfectionistic like Barry Windsor-Smith. There's a little bit of something up here, a little smudging or something, but otherwise this cover looks really nice. And this cover looks really nice, except for, again, it's on the right side where I wouldn't be able to see it when it was overlapped by other comics. Big creases right there. Unfortunate. There's some spine tick there. Spine tick there. And then, you know, some spine ticks. It's probably, I don't know, it's still in the maybe 5.0 range, but I'm not sure. It's not a big deal either way because these aren't extremely valuable. But there's a bend right there, but this, again, image is beautiful. Conan, beautiful women. Conan's as pretty as any girl, basically, so beautiful cover again. And number 4, again, a beautiful cover, but this one's probably the most frustrating because beautiful, beautiful. There's a signature. All of this is really beautifully, you know, still looks great. You know, the corners are nice and everything. But then you've got this significant color break here, again here, and then it just looks like somebody scratched this up. Almost like they took a paper clip or a tack or something and scratched up, you know, maybe by accident, but, you know, there's significant scratches, and they're across Conan's figure. So that kind of ruins any kind of, you know, collectability in a sense. I mean, it makes it a nice reader's copy still because cover still looks nice. This is just frustrating, but it's the kind of thing that happens. And presumably the interiors are nice, so maybe we'll crack this open and look at it in another video. I won't do that in this video though, so we're already closing in on 30 minutes and make it relatively short. And this is number 3, beautiful cover again. Really beautiful cover, and this one is very nice shape. One interesting thing that you'll notice, I think we're all kind of subconsciously aware, or even consciously aware, when we see, you know, as collectors through the years, when we would see comics and might see the edges, you know, might see like the wrapping miswrapped, you see a lot of white on the spine, or you see like the price is kind of on the back side of the issue, and so, you know, you're certainly aware of the centering of the comic, but you're not like always consciously aware of it. And I've noticed that someone like ETA Nick is almost obsessive compulsive. At least that's what he said about himself in terms of centering. And so I am paying more attention to that. As I mentioned in this Conan #1, looks nicely centered. And you can see it here. It's pretty interesting. Conan the Barbarian, which Onan, if you look up the Japanese term for Onan, it means something very different. Onani. And Barbarian almost sounds like he loves trees, but not quite the same word. But so the C and the B are cut off. And a little bit of one. So this is a good example of not perfectly centered. The edge of the M, but beautiful cover, looks in great shape. Tiny little color break there. And the edges look nice. All of this looks really nice, and I think this is in the very fine range, so which is great because it's #3. And this is #2, and this is a good example compared to this. See the Conan the Barbarian, and then here we go, the Conan the Barbarian. Now, of course, this one's not perfectly wrapped because you see the white along the spine, and you actually see the staples, but that facilitates not cutting off the price, not cutting off the Marvel Comics group or any of this. The comics code is not cut off. This right here is not cut off, so it's still actually really nicely centered. Even at the bottom, nothing's cut off there, so there you go. But it's a little crease there, a little bit there, and this is something that you couldn't notice again in the pictures. There looks like there's like a pretty good dent or something, almost a tear, and right there. That you can actually feel. There's a tear right there. Yeah, so probably knocks this down to maybe very good, even though it looks really, really nice, but here's a crease. So there are some color breaks, some pretty major color breaks, particularly right there where my finger is. It's something that you can actually feel. That's never good. So that's unfortunate. That's #2. And that's the end of the Conan lot. I'm missing a couple. You can see right there. 1, 2, and 3. But, and I've got 4. And then I don't have 5, and I don't have 7 and 8. So. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. And then 2 more comics. Forever People, Jack Kirby. Bought on a whim. This costs $4.80. I think what happens is I win the auction if it's just if I just buy a couple of comics. I go ahead and fill it out and buy 1 or 2 that are just there available for sale. This is, I think, it's listed as very good to find. It's #8, Forever People. Beautiful cover. Obviously kind of strange and disturbing, as Kirby certainly was capable of being. Almost this Klansman here with this burning candle, and this guy with this horrific mask, and they're enslaved, very cult-like and strange and mysterious, and just Jack Kirby. And then weird science fantasy. I'm a little less excited about these EC comics now that I have them, just because of their condition. I can't really pop them out and read them or look at them because I think they're so split at the spine that the covers will come off. This one definitely has a lot of spine splitting. This is a classic cover, one of the beautiful covers. Al Williamson, you can see his signature there at the bottom. I've talked about him and raved about him for, several videos. I'm a big fan of Al Williamson's, and I've seen this comic. I saw this cover in an issue of the a very old issue of the Overstreet Price Guide. Had a blue Wallace Wood cover, and it was a cover feature on EC Comics. The first time I ever heard of EC Comics, and as I said, prior, and so I was pretty excited to get this, even though it's not in great shape. Obviously, spine splitting and tanning when you're talking about a white cover, but still love dinosaurs, volcanoes. It's just classic Al Williamson. It's just beautiful. And I think I paid 20. Did I pay? No, I think I paid. I think I paid about $30 for this one. I said I paid $27 for the other one, which is in poor condition. This is actually about a 2.0, so it's certainly a better condition. It's got a crease there, and then obviously all the issues along the spine. Other than that, it's pretty nice. But so that's it. Obviously, the piece de resistance is the Conan #1. It's only a 6.0. It's not going to set the world on fire. As I said, the big collectors laugh at that. And they're busy with their amazing fantasy 5.0s that are worth $20,000. But I'm happy with it, and the artwork is beautiful. And I'll probably do. I want to do some features on artists ranging from Paul Pope to Barry Windsor-Smith. To probably Jaime Hernandez, just a handful of artists I respect, and also some undiscovered or underrated artists from the Golden Age that I've been coming across a lot more recently. So we'll talk about that later, but for the time being, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing video. Like, comment, subscribe, particularly comment. It's really nice when that some people are watching and also liking the videos is great. And also, one other thing I want to mention is that I think I mentioned it already, but there is now a Godlovescomics Facebook group. It really doesn't have anything to do with the videos. It's just comics lovers, and I post a lot of covers there, a lot of funny covers, bizarre covers from the Golden Age, from the Silver Age, from Bronze Age, and sometimes modern covers like Saga or Love and Rockets or whatever. But anyone can post there. Primarily kind of try to encourage not to post really hideous 90s stuff or foil stuff or whatever. I'll delete those probably, but anyone can post there. But if you're on Facebook and you want to join the group, just probably just type in Godlovescomics, and I'm sure it'll pop up. But I'll also probably put a link in the description below. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks very much. And I'll be back much sooner with another video soon. So thanks very much for watching, and that's it for now. Goodbye.